Welcome to the Jake Sewell Podcast. Today, my guest is Kat Knox. Kat is the Marketing and Development Director at the YWCA Central Indiana. Kat, thanks for coming out.
Oh, my pleasure.
Being on the show today. I wanted to bring you on. Last year, I got the opportunity to photograph a couple fundraisers at the YWCA, and I was always under the impression the YWCA was more of a YMCA, but more oriented towards women.
You're not alone.
And when I walked in, I saw families in there living there, and I kind of hit me in the gut because I had no idea. So if you could just kind of start off what the YWCA kind of in general is.
In general, our local YWCA does house women and women with children who do not have safe support. I would say that is a basic overview of what our local Y does on the front end.
Okay, yeah, and that was something like I said, I had no idea. I walked in there and I was like, oh, this is not what I thought.
Right.
So what did you do before you got involved with the YWCA?
So prior to YWCA, it's actually, I've had an interesting, very fun life, I think. At one point, my longest career was a bartender for 12 years, which led me into meeting a lot of people, into the marketing, always something with people. I think since birth I've had a passion for people, but directly prior to the YWCA, I was working with Jack Surface at Midas, who sought me out and said, hey, come work for me, I need you, which is a huge compliment, and he is a great asset for our community. So I love that. I sat on a board with Watasha. Her and I have been friends for a long time, and she said, hey, have you thought about this?
So you almost kind of got recruited to become part of the Y. Now, when you started, were you in the same role or were you in a different role?
When I started at the YWCA, I was hired in for this position.
For that specific.
Yeah.
How long have you been there?
1 year this month. Yeah, on the 14th, Watasha and I sat in her office, and I played it real cool. I'm like, give me a week to think about it. And I walked out just really in tears, knowing that God had put me there.
Yeah. What kind of activities and what's your role as the marketing and development director?
So it's a small staff. So the roles are interesting. It's an incredible staff, and I love them. But specifically, my job is to bring awareness to who we are. I always joke and say that Watasha wanted me there because I have a large mouth, and and I will tell the story. And it's a story that I'm proud to be a part of. So essentially, that's my role: fundraising, events, just bringing more awareness to who we are, what we do, and then building partnerships with people who we can work together. I'm all about collaboration. Watasha is all about collaboration. We have a lot of great entities in this community that are willing to work together for the betterment, specifically for the marginalized.
What kind of challenge do you face in your daily role?
Well, I would say the most abundant challenge is keeping the funds available for a 56,000 square foot building. If you have two women in a household, I always joke and say that's a lot of toilet paper. We house up to 81 women.
So 81's capacity.
Yes. And so it's a lot of toilet paper. It takes a lot of money to make the building run. Watasha has been in her role just over 2 years now as CEO. She's amazing and definitely has us on the upswing and making a difference. So just making that financial backing a little more solid.
What kind of events do you guys do to raise funds and awareness?
So our major events as far as fundraising are the one upcoming is Texas Roadhouse Luncheon. We partner with them. They're great in this community. We do a luncheon where you can carry out or you can pick up there. That's on March 21st. And then Put Yourself in Her Heels, those are the two largest ones.
When is the Put Yourself in Her Heels?
Put Yourself in Her Heels. That is in September.
Okay.
So September 28th is when that one is. And no heels are required. HEALS is an acronym that stands for Help, Encourage, Empower, Lift, and Support.
What does that event include?
So it's since its conception, I think this is our 6th or 7th event. Since its conception, what it has now become, it did used to be men putting on heels in representation of what it's like to walk in a woman's shoes. And currently, it's a program really to deepen the understanding of who we are, because we're finding that there really is a misconception about who the Y is. We're kind of a kept secret.
Yeah. And I feel like I'm pretty up on, what goes on in our community. And like I said, I had no idea.
Yeah. And the building's been there for 97 years.
Yeah. It's a very beautiful old time, the big brick building.
Yeah.
So what all, you mentioned obviously housing for women who have nowhere else to go. Can you go in a little more detail about what you guys offer, say someone who's coming off the street that needs a place to stay?
Absolutely. First of all, we're the only emergency shelter in Central Indiana. So, and what I mean by that is if she has it's not domestic violence related. Specifically, and it's 2:00 in the morning, and for whatever reason she's been put on the street, maybe with or without a child, and for some reason comes across an officer, they have nowhere to take them
other than the
YWCA right here in Central Indiana. We surround the name change is because it more encompasses who we serve. It's a long time since been just Muncie that we serve, but then they come, and usually what happens is they begin at the first step, which is our COTS stay program, complimentary overnight temporary shelter, which began in our gym on a cot. And you've been in the gym, Jake, so you've seen it, and I'm sure you can imagine that at night. It's not, it doesn't really advocate for change. It's kind of scary.
Yeah, it's your typical old gym that you might play pickup basketball on a Sunday in.
Right, absolutely. And not even to mention the roof issues and things. It's just not, it doesn't advocate change. Chris decides come alongside us with Chameleon Salons a couple of years ago and said, let's put some color here, and specifically took on this task of creating a space that is beautiful. It has uplifting words on it, and it really does advocate for a woman who's in the crunch of life, we'll call it, to come in there and think, now maybe I could make a different choice.
Yeah.
To think a new thought. Maybe I am worth doing something better in my life.
I just find it hard to believe that in all of East Central Indiana, which is a pretty big area, you guys are the only really women's shelter, emergency shelter.
We're it.
Now, you mentioned if it's not domestic abuse, if that is a situation, are there other places in the area that women
Absolutely.
can
A better
go?
way
Okay.
is that
Okay.
other space. And so typically what happens, even if a woman comes to us in the middle of the night and it's domestic violence related, we refer them back to a better way. We work very well together,
Okay.
I think, and we're continuing to deepen that relationship because our clientele sometimes does overcross. The better way actually started in the YWCA building. Interesting little fun fact for you.
Now, are all YWCAs across the country similar to you guys, where it's basically a women's shelter for those in need, or?
No, not necessarily, but we all have the same mission, and that's to eliminate racism and empower women and promote peace, justice, dignity, and freedom for all. That is YWCA. Actually, globally, that is our mission. So in one way or another, they are working on health and safety, economic advancement, and civil rights issues, but not 100% of them do have shelters.
Okay. Now, I know there's is it called second phase housing?
Yeah, second stage.
Second stage. What's that entail?
So actually, after COTS, typically there's another space there that's called emergency shelter, and a woman typically can stay there for 45 days.
Okay.
And so that's a space that she would move into. It's dormitory style housing, all of it is, and then they can move into second stage housing, is where they're almost ready to be on their own, but not quite, affording rent and utilities and all of it to be 100% self-sufficient. They're not quite there. So second stage housing are on the second and third floors in our facility. And, there's kitchens. And again, it's dorm story. If you've been in any kind of dorm, that's essentially what it looks like.
Okay. Now, is there any sort of permanent housing, or is it?
Not currently.
Okay.
But our whole goal is to help women to become self-sustaining, because homeless is not ever a goal for anyone. And so helping them to become self-sufficient is our ultimate goal, and not putting them out without a safe place to be.
Now, while they're at the Y and they're either in, you mentioned the first phase or the second phase, what kind of programs or assistance can they receive while they're there?
Perfect. So that goes in more to that wraparound services. We have some amazing partners in the community and are building those on a daily basis. I would say I'm excited about that portion of it. Health and safety, obviously, teaming up with Meridian Health Services and Open Door, making sure there's health screenings, making sure, like, our first goal is, do you have health care? When's the last time you were checked physically, so talking about women's health. And then do you have any kind of insurance? Like, you have to make sure we have those steps, and everybody doesn't have access, and you kind of need a degree in that almost to be able to work your way through that. So making sure those things are settled. Do you have an ID? Sometimes it's as simple as that, and how it does cost money to get an ID. You have to have a birth certificate, you have to have these things. And if you don't have those documents readily available, there's programs that will help you get that. So we partner those people together. Money management. You and I talked before coming on. If you've not learned about a budget, you just think it's something for rich people. And so helping women know that they can tell their money where to go instead of just wondering where it went. Mm-hmm. So that's an education we provide. We partner with people like Ron Locke from the police department. They are phenomenal. They come in and they do a empowerment through education program, and that's more targeted specifically at domestic violence. We house that in our facility, and it's really to help women know that process of what can you do, what are the laws, what's the next step, who can you trust, those kinds of things to build a safe and secure environment for them.
Do you help them get out into the workforce?
Absolutely. So we partner with lots of people who say, hey, we have jobs here. Kate Williams is our residential program director. And so lots of connections with who's hiring. We're always posting new hirings, helping the women get interview ready, we'll say, whether that's physically or mentally, just knowing your worth and knowing the job that you can attain. Confidence, I think, amongst all women, against all people, knowing that difference between self-esteem and self-confidence. And so just helping bridge that gap.
Do you guys help with resumes?
Absolutely. So we partner. It's really more application. Like, you have to figure out how to write, what are the answers to the application questions opposed to the resume. Yes, we can help build resumes and partner with people who do that training as well. But really, it is Jacob, you have to think about this. Think about a world where nobody walked you through that. Nobody showed you, like, I know with my teenage kids, we talked about how to fill out an application and what to answer those things. But what if nobody did that? And now you found yourself without shelter.
Yeah.
And you still don't know how to do that.
Yeah, it'd be difficult. I was fortunate, to get that education of how to build a resume, how to fill out applications, what to talk about in an interview and all that. But yeah, if you didn't, and I think that's where the confidence comes in you talked about.
Right.
An interview can be intimidating if you're prepared and ready to go for
right.
it, much less if you've had so many struggles leading up to that. I could see it being very intimidating. Now, obviously you guys want to help everyone, but if you have someone who doesn't take to the program or it seems like they're reoccurring, how do you guys deal with that?
So you would ask about the difficulties, and I would say financially definitely is the first for me personally, but also that burden of mental issues are something we don't talk about a lot. When Robin Williams, when all of that happened, I think the world goes, oh, okay, and I think we're becoming more aware of it. It's odd to me still that it's not normal to go to your counselor. I think we should all have at least two, So you fight some of those struggles, and so I know I'm taking the long way around answering your question here, but if you're told you're no good, you're never going to amount to anything. It's not just physical stuff. Sometimes it's as simple as saying those. My mom, and I love her, told me when I grew up, you're probably only going to have 5 true friends in your life because that's who she has. To her this day, she has friends who she has from high school. Now, this isn't a horrible thing, right? Like, this isn't degrading in any way, but I really thought that that's the way the world worked. And because I was able to be in a position to think new thoughts, I know that that's not the truth. It doesn't have to be the truth. So some of these things are very simple like that. But if you've been told you're no good, you're not going to amount to nothing, don't get above your raisin, those kinds of things, there's a lack in self-esteem and what your worth is. And so I say all that to say this. Some people are not ready for change because they're not open to think the new thought, or nobody has poured into them. And anger if you've been done wrong, you're very mad about things and pushing through that anger. So there are definitely times it's hard to have a do not shelter list, because we have to keep everyone in the house safe. And so if there's a chance that there's a physical, they're going to cause harm to others, we can't, we have to think of that. So it's difficult to want to love on people and want to help them, because in my belief, God didn't have time to make nobodies. We're all somebody, and so are they. And so it's really hard to have somebody who is reoccurring. That's difficult. And then to a point, especially if it becomes to where they're unsafe to people around them.
Yeah.
And it causes problems.
Now, on the flip side of that, do you guys have women who have went out and really become successful and come back and either, not maybe donate their time, volunteer? Has that happened in the past?
Oh, absolutely. So it's like, woo, yay, this is the fun part. I love this. In fact, currently I'm so excited. I won't share their names because I didn't ask permission yet to do that. We're going to do interviews with them, but specifically, she comes in, she's been through abuse and just a lot of the situations that we've talked about. She's fought some addictions, but she's come in, she's stayed focused, she's made sure she participated with mandatory programs. She's not missed those. Recently got a job in a position that she is passionate. She had a job, so it's not just about a paycheck. So the first one was just about a paycheck.
I think it's confidence, right?
Yes. The first one was just about a paycheck, and it just didn't work out, and there was some stuff that happened. And the next one, this is something she's so passionate about, and she is radiating. And now they move out, actually, I think Friday. And she built a friendship with another woman in the facility. It's beautiful to see that. So now you have two separate women who come from two totally different backgrounds, who did not know each other and did not have safe support in their life. And over the course of the time of them being there, they've developed a very good friendship to where now they're going to move out together and help each other and be together. And so one is, mid-aged. The other is a senior lady who actually, you have to choose between medical care and housing. There's a whole other podcast for that, Jake,
Yeah.
And that's why she's there. She had no addiction. She just, you have to choose.
To go.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the thing. At the end of the day, we're all the same.
Mm-hmm.
I think our past experiences, kind of shape who we are. And like you said, if someone keeps getting beat down and don't have the confidence, then, how are you going to get above that? Are there other programs, like you said, you mentioned the resumes, job building? Do you guys do any sort of addiction programs or anything?
So Al-Anon is actually a support for survivors of victims, and we house them. There are programs that we're working to build partnerships with because it is important to help. It's just not flipping a switch. It's a process. So there's a reason they got there. And again, it's the mental health issue usually is on the back end of some of those addictions.
Yeah, and I think you're seeing that in prisons too.
Mm-hmm.
The incarcerated, a lot of times, are just need more mental help than being locked up.
Yeah.
I know it's a big issue. They've talked about mental hospitals closing in the 70s and 80s, and now we're seeing the effect of that.
Absolutely.
You talked your capacity is around 81.
Mm-hmm.
What do you guys normally? Are you guys normally near full, half full?
Typically, we're, I would say 3/4. Can I go with 3/4
Yeah.
full? Yeah. There are definitely times as soon as it gets colder out, we definitely do see a shift that it's, there are more people who can't stay in their cars or stay in a shed or, they need something a little more secure. So definitely in the winter.
What do you guys have to do when you get to 81 and someone comes in?
We work hard to, again, partner like Bridges and Christian ministries and partner with the people and work for housing. We are part of the winter contingency plan. So when the temperature hits, I want to say 0, it's cold, whenever it's really cold, and you usually hear these on the radio.
Last Wednesday.
Yes, absolutely. Last Wednesday. So we are part of that plan, and we will put as many people in there as we can. We have tons of cots, whether it's in the gym or in our new cot stay area. We make sure we find a bed for them.
So you can expand temporarily.
Yes.
How long, and maybe this is a tough question, on average do women stay at the Y?
So cot stays are up to 3 days, emergency shelter up to 45 days. Of course, there are all circumstances that can, you can get a small extension. So generally speaking, but then when moving into second stage housing, about 6 months. Sometimes it's longer. We do have Kim, who's a beautiful, beautiful little redhead friend. I love her. She's in a wheelchair. So finding housing that is handicap accessible is tough. That's another podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she needs, she has certain needs because she can't just walk in a room. So
I was doing some research, and you guys actually have a resale shop.
We do.
In the Y.
Yes.
Can you tell me more about that?
Absolutely. Thanks for asking. Tri Kappa sorority actually is a group of amazing, phenomenal women, and I love them. And they, years ago, and I don't know when this started, so I need to look that up, in the back part of the YWCA on Fridays and Saturdays, it's a resale shop. And there are some really cute things in there for really, really cheap. I'm talking brand new kid shoes you see all the time for like 50 cents. And this is all made through donations that come in through the YWCA. The ladies run that shop from sorting to making it cute to putting out the displays. And 100% of those funds come back to the YWCA.
And that's open to the public, right? That's
it is,
anyone.
absolutely.
What are the hours on that?
Fridays, they are open from 10 to 2. And on Saturdays, 10 to noon. Now, don't quote me on that. It is on our website, but I believe those.
I'll post that website up on social media as well.
Perfect. They are having a huge garage sale. Like I call it the mass exodus because it will be not only in our community room this year, but also in the gym for February 22nd and 23rd.
Okay.
So lots of fun.
We'll definitely have to promote that.
Yeah, thanks.
Now, obviously, people can donate money, but not everyone can donate. What are some other ways volunteers from the outside can help?
Jake, I'm so glad you asked. Like, this is my passion because it's not always pay to play. Shouldn't always be. This is one of my favorite stories. I just had a young woman who called last week and said, my family loves to sing and we love to do crafts and we love to read. Is there a way we could come in and do that with your families? Absolutely. Absolutely. At the end of the day, Jake, we just want to know that we matter, right? And so when somebody takes time to pour into you and wants to, whip out a guitar and sing for you and just spend time with you. We do this with some churches. Harris Chapel comes in the third Sunday, I believe it is, and they just have a meal and they just sit and they chat. No agenda. Commonway comes in and does a birthday bash with our women the first Wednesday of every month. No agenda. They bring gifts for whoever's birthday it is that month and a cake, and we eat and we have fun. And that's it.
You mentioned conversation. I think that's so important, especially in society today where we're on our phones or distracted. To sit down and have a conversation with someone it's so important. It just seems like people can get stuff off their chest or hear new ideas or learn about people and then eventually learn about themselves.
Yes.
So really just volunteering, and does the volunteering run through you?
Me. I'm a volunteer coordinator as well. Mm-hmm. So yep, you can.
So you wear a lot of hats there then.
We all wear a lot of hats.
Besides money and obviously going to the YWCA and donating your time, are there items like clothing or anything specific or a long list?
Your gently used stuff. Let me say that. Blankets, twin size sheet sets, washcloths, a lot of times cookware. Like we try to set people up for success. So when they leave, they actually get to take those washcloths and towels that they come sometimes with a backpack and that's it. Manual can openers, you think about those. We need things like that. So we try to give them pots, pans. Think about when you left home, all the things that you needed. Those are things that we use. We have a food pantry, so non-perishable food items. Specifically, I would say soups, canned meats, things like that. Green beans are great, but you need stuff to go with them. So those kinds of items, diapers, feminine products, Those are always.
Do you guys take larger items, say like, I don't know, furniture, appliances, stuff like that?
Yeah, typically not furniture or appliances. When we need those, we usually post specifically. Okay. Like we did just have some washing machine issues, and so we post. But we just the storage of those on a general basis. So things like mattresses, we don't take. Cribs, we don't take. Car seats, those things, mainly because there's an expiration and you have to look at some of those things. But so what happens? We'll really take anything, again, gently used being the ideal there. And what happens is we take what we need for our women. We have a boutique that is specifically for our residents. And recently we partnered with Ivy Tech with their career development so that when there are students who cannot afford professional wear, they'll come to our boutique. So that goes there. So always gently used business casual, business professional items, including accessories. And then and even things like black non-slip shoes. If you get a job at a restaurant, you have to have those. And so having those and black pants, typically. So we try to keep things like that. And then it goes to our Twice as Nice resale shop if it can be resold. And then we disperse into our community, whether it be the Mission or a Better Way, just, wherever it needs to go.
Okay. And last thing on helping out, if someone does want to donate money, what's the best way to do that?
You just come in and give me a check.
Okay.
No, you can do it online at our YWCA Central Indiana.org. There is a donate button, and they can go through there.
Now, you've been involved for a year, so you got, obviously got your feet wet in it. Now, going forward, are you guys looking to make changes, add programs? What's kind of the future in the next couple of years?
Yes, always changing. One thing I love about it is it's never stale, and I love Watasha Barnes-Griffin and her vision of always moving forward and really just honing in where people know about our shelter. They don't necessarily know about our civil rights part and the racial justice or the economic advancement of all people. And so you will see programs more geared for that so that we can be more compliant with what YWCA USA says we are. We just haven't really been, we haven't taken very good care of that. We've kind of been in the heat of the crisis. And so we're working to be better and to have a bold mission and a bright future.
Now, you mentioned the two big fundraisers, the luncheon and then the Hills event. Are there other events in the community or?
Actually, so about monthly, there's either a ladies' lunch or my mission is to bring people, my personal, like being people in the house, just like you said, you had no idea until you walked in there. One, it's a huge facility. There's a gym you can rent. There's a community room you can rent. There's a raw room you can rent. I'm working to make the kitchen certified. That's not yet, so don't call me on that. So that people can come in and use our facility. And you'll find that the rates are extremely competitive, and it helps us out as an entity. So one event that I'm excited about this specific month, February being Black History Month, Yvonne Thompson. I am so excited about this woman. If you've never had a moment to be in her presence, we are going to have her in on Tuesday, February 26th. It's a free lunch. Texas Roadhouse is providing a potato and salad bar. You'll see that event come up on our Facebook page here very soon within the next week. And that'll be on Tuesday, February 26th from 11:30 to 12:30. We're excited about that.
Very good.
Our awareness campaigns too. So nationally we have Stand Against Racism, and that's coming up in April, and then Get Out the Vote, which is in November, just working on those voting initiatives.
Now, I mentioned earlier, I kind of assumed that the YWCA was kind of a version of the YMCA. What's the difference, I guess? Because I was obviously confused and didn't know.
It's so funny. So when Watasha and I talked through that week of really deciding, was I a good fit? Did this fit? That was the very first thing I Googled, was to see what the difference was, besides just an M and a W. And funny enough, they actually have similar histories. They both started in London. YMCA is 10 years older than YWCA. It started in 1844. And their mission has always been on that, staying healthy, being fit. But even like YWCA, which started in 1855, both of the entities were more about, because there was an industrial revolution, people are coming in from the country, they don't have a place to stay. And the situations where they were staying were not healthy. I mean, open sewers, and it was an ugly situation. So the Ys, both of them, started in a way to say, hey, you can come stay here, have a safe place to go, and then, go do your job and come back and be safe. So they have similar beginnings, and even our own local Y, there are still women in our community who that's how they started. They came in from the country. They lived at the YWCA locally. Those are stories I'm working to capture. So if you're one of those women, please reach out to me because we do want to tell those stories. It's an incredible journey to know that they're still alive. It wasn't that long ago. So that's the main industry. Then the difference is YWCA's mission, and I think that this really tells the story better than any other, aside from the fact that I do not have a treadmill. You cannot work out in our facility. You can run up and down the stairs. Like, that's all you can do in our facility.
Play some basketball.
Yes, you can play basketball, absolutely. But the YMCA's mission is to put Christian principles into practice through progress that build healthy spirit, mind, and body for all. And the YWCA's has always been eliminating racism and empowering women. And then we added promoting that peace, justice, freedom, and dignity for all. So there's more of a social civil rights issue that we deal with at the YWCA, and the YMCA is really about youth development and your body being healthy, your mind being healthy, and not so much the social level of things.
Yeah, because you go in the Y and people are swimming, people are running, doing classes, whatever it may be.
Absolutely.
Okay. Now, what do you do outside the Y? Sounds like it takes up a lot of your time. So what do you do in your free time if you have free time?
If I have free time, I try to be just like budgeting money. I learned through my Mary Kay business. Everybody asks me where I went to college. I say MKU because Mary Kay Ash taught me to think a whole different way, and I love that about her. So outside of that, I'm a mom to 3. I love my children, even though the older 2 don't need me much anymore. They're 27 and 19, and I have a 9-year-old at home. So mom, Girl Scout troop leader. I love my Girl Scouts. My older daughter, we went through a troop together, and now with my 4th grader. So there's that. I'm the vice president of Women in Business Unlimited on that board, and I've served on that board for actual years. I love Women in Business Unlimited and the women who paved a way locally for networking for women. It's a different ball game because of them. So I love being a part of that. Muncie Civic, I'm actually on top of everything else. I love the Civic, and I've done some behind the scene things, but I'm actually going to be in a production, Big River, which comes out in April.
You want to see you on stage?
Yeah. We'll be there. We'll see how that goes. I'm excited about that venture, though. Other things close to my heart, of course, are Secret Families. If you don't know Al Holdren, you should. I love that family, and Deborah Raleigh and I partnered to do like the apparel for Secret Families. But I love that my children have been doing it since they were little. Becca's been wrapping gifts since she was 4 years old. So it's very family oriented for families in our community. It's huge. Common Way is my church, and I love them and try to be involved in there as much as I can. And I also do makeup at Hotheads for like proms and weddings and things like that.
One thing I always try to ask my guests, because typically my guests are very busy like you are, how do you time manage? Because so many people, and I've been guilty of it as well, sometimes aren't the best at time management. And then you see other people get all this stuff done, and we all get same 24 hours. So how do you keep on top of your time management?
It's really funny. I've heard time management is an oxymoron because you can't manage time. It just continues to tick away, right, with or without you. And so the short answer is living an on-purpose life. Really deciding, when I started my Mary Kay business 14 years ago, yesterday, that was my anniversary, 14 years ago yesterday, one of the very first thoughts that became new to me was that there are 168 hours in a week. What are you doing with those? And really auditing your time and asking anybody, if you go out and say, hey, what are your goals for 5 years from now? Where do you want to be 5 years from now? It is amazing. I mean, I had no idea. When I was asked that question, I'm like, can I just pay my bills? And you know what I mean? Can I go on vacation somewhere? Can I be ahead enough to go to a beach? But I didn't really have solid goals for who I wanted to be personally, how I wanted to grow, or financially. I didn't have any. What I wanted to do with my family, if I wanted to make a difference in the community. I think we get stuck in the everyday life. It's not horrible. It doesn't make us bad people. It's just we were made for more. I believe that.
I think routine everyone's like, oh, I'm a routine person, I like being routine, but I think it can lead to being in a rut.
It can. There's got to be something fresh. And so what Watasha calls a personal board of directors, the people that surround you that say, hey, you're doing this great. If you really, but tell you the truth, like, don't wear that dress, or you got something on your face. Like those real friends, I call them prayer warriors, that stay with you, that help guide you, that challenge you to be better. But time management, seriously, I have this sheet and I'm not the best at it, but you look at any of these, the people who are, all the names that I love just went out of my head, but the people who talk about the 6 most important things and writing those down on a daily basis, having a plan for that week. And even a spiral notebook kind of runs my life. I have a daily thing and I write down what I want to do at work, things I want to get done at home, and they don't happen. I just move it forward. And the weeks that I am more on purpose about it are the weeks I get more done. I mean, all of us have done it. We've all had those days where you have to go to 12 different places, right? And so you've kind of made either a mental note or you've actually made a physical note, and you get it done and you're like, whoo, I did a lot today. And the days you have nothing planned, like those are couch potato days because there was no on purpose movement to do it. And I think we need balance. You can't have structure every day. Like it's great to go play in the mud just because, hey, it's raining today and it's 90 degrees. Let's go play in the rain, kind of thing. So you need a good balance in both of those.
What are some of the ways people can contact either you or the YWCA?
So YWCA Central Indiana.org is our website. The phone number is 284-3345. My email address is Kat Knox. That's KATKNOX at YWCACENIN.org.
Are they on social media as well?
Absolutely. Thanks for asking. In fact, we would love for you to go like our page at YWCACentralindiana.org. Of course, you can find me at Kat Knox.
Well, Kat, thanks so much for coming out and explaining to me the difference between the YMCA and the YWCA, because I had no idea, and I'm sure there's a lot of people in our community who don't either, and hopefully this will just kind of expose them to what you guys are doing, and hopefully inspire a few people to help. Thanks. So I really appreciate your time. Thanks for coming out.
Thank you.
And talking about everything. As for me, you can reach me via email, thejakesewellpodcast@gmail.com. I'm on Instagram at the Jake Sewell Podcast and Twitter at the JS Podcast. Thanks.